All right, take two.
Tell me how you make it funny. Funny? Oh, really? Tell me make it funny. Come on, tell me how. Come on. Oh, really? How you make it funny?
Hello and welcome. This is our first episode, and we have Mr. Milind Aimare with us. He is a big name in Indian advertising. In fact, I studied a lot of his work in college. It had such a big influence on me that I decided to join advertising, and my mom decided to blame him for my career. She's like, एक तो आर्ट्स ले लिया ऊपर से गरीब भी बन गई. But to anyone who's listening, I want to put out an important message that listen, not everybody is going to be Milind Aimare. ठीक है? तो तुम जो भी कर रहे हो सोच समझ के करना. My second most favorite thing about him is his first film, You Are My Sunday. It's a great film. It has won a lot of awards. As an advertising person, awards mean more to me than my parents' approval, obviously. The film is about a group of friends who are looking for a football field in Bombay. They're looking for space in Mumbai. Looking for space in Mumbai is like looking for space in a relationship with Kabir Singh. Looking for space in Mumbai is like looking for freedom of speech in your ससुराल. और वो शायद आपको ज्यादा दहेज देके मिल भी जाए, बट बॉम्बे में स्पेस नहीं मिलता. लाइक अंबानी खुद कोठी नहीं बनवा पाया, उसको मजबूरी में स्काई स्क्रेपर बनवाना पड़ा. मतलब अगर अंबानी को ग्राउंड लेवल में पार्किंग नहीं मिल रहा है तो हम लोग क्या कर रहे हैं? And space, like we are still talking about physical space, it has a lot of metaphorical significance also in the movie, right? And why am I still talking when we have the man himself? Yeah. Sir, how badly do you regret saying yes for this?
It's too early. I'll tell you at the end of the show. अभी तो शुरुआत हुई है, तो we'll see.
Okay, so let's begin at the beginning. Yeah, I know for a fact that you started with theater and then you moved to advertising. So, what was it that pulled you to advertising? Like, what were the initial ads that inspired you? Like for me, like it was Digyan Verma and all of those early work. So, what was it for you that I know I have read interviews where you said that I was not good enough for it, but I don't believe that. So, give me like the actual reason.
No, I see. First of all, I mean, pulled me to advertising. Nothing pulled me. It's a desperation which pushed me towards it. So advertising became a career much later. As far as we were concerned, our times, advertising was something people had hardly heard of as a career option.
Right.
And that's what would happen in the earlier days, at least. Okay, I'm not that old, but 90% of people who came into advertising came by accident, except for those who did commercial arts at JJ and Sophia's.
Right.
So, barring all the art directors who obviously knew commercial art was a profession and they kind of had chosen that pretty early. The rest of us, I think most of everyone bhatak ke aa gaye the advertising pe. And mostly it's people who at a last resort didn't have a job or, wanted to write but didn't know. So for me, it was, I think, accident. Or it was desperation in the sense that I did only theater in college.
Right.
And I don't know if whatever I'm going to say is good advice or not, but I did not attend one lecture in my 5 years in college. I think I attended one lecture. I remember that vividly, only one lecture. And so towards the end of college, my friends and everybody else were preparing for MBA, and I realized that ye mere se hoga nahi. I mean, the kind of preparation they're doing and kind of stuff they were doing was pretty bizarre for me. And I thought I want to do something where I can only use my talent, because I was terrible at studies.
Right.
And so by classic progression, I thought I'll join FTI.
Right.
And see, again, even filmmaking was not that professional as it is today. So right. I had done a small stint as a production guy in a serial. And spent 3 months working on it. And I saw the guy who was directing it was like 50 years old, and that was his first directional job. And so for whatever 30 years of his life, he had kind of assisted and stuff like that. And And I thought, okay, I'll join FTI and I'll kind of, whatever. And then people dissuaded me, and then everybody said, direction ka 10 seat hai, usme se X, Y reserved. And what do you want to do? Tere ko kitna chance hai? You don't come from a film background, and how are you going to get a chance to direct? You just have
all the practical talk, basically.
Yeah, so classic middle class fears, and
Yeah.
kya hoga mera. And then there's a friend of mine whose mother was in advertising.
Okay.
His name was Mihir, and his mother was. So he said, "Why don't you do advert?" My mom writes and ads and all that, and they write. And I knew I wanted to make films. I was pretty sure about that. I really wanted to make films, and they said, "Ads mein films hota hai, film bhi likhte kabhi kabhi." So there was classically in our days, I don't think we looked up to advertising as much. It's once in a while this big Coke ad or Pepsi ad would make some news, but rest of it was Lalita ji and
Yeah.
the generic stuff.
Right.
So
and was there
yeah, so it was
for awards, like how we like?
Oh no, awards came in much later. Awards, I'll tell you the award story, but awards was much later. Then there was no such thing as awards and stuff like that. And so I said, okay, I'll do advertising. It sounds interesting. And so then someone told me about a course in Xavier's, XIC. Mass communication course. In those days, it was a 1-year course.
Right.
And I said, "ठीक है, ये करता हूँ मैं." And it was very strange because, so I had, like, just imagine 6 years, no studies, nothing in college, and now I'm going to study for a course. And I went there with this whole thing कि बस इस पे मेरी life depend है. अगर ये course मैं नहीं कर पाया तो I'll suck and I'll never get a job, and I need to get a job. And so it was very strange that in that course I used to be a front bencher. I used to like put my hand up, ask questions, take notes very diligently, and people thought I was a nerd, and it was very funny because that's a lot of people told me later. I met my wife there.
Oh.
So if you ask me, is it worth doing courses and studying? I don't know, but at least मेरे लिए एक बड़ा फायदा हुआ. So that happened, and that's how I got into advertising, basically. I mean, so it wasn't really anything inspiring, or there was not a great story about it. I think it was just sheer desperation that I don't know if I graduate. I think I failed in one subject. So, I mean, so it was like I had to be good at what I was doing. And it was that desperation which drove me and made me, I think, try and be good at what I was doing. I was pretty sure that it's my only chance at making money or doing something with my life.
Right.
And of course, I love writing. And then there's this whole thing in advertising. It's great bursts of creativity. So it was always fun. And then, of course, after that, it was had these ups and downs, but it was great fun. I mean, I enjoyed my stint in advertising as well.
Right. And in fact, I am a XIC reject.
I was a reject. You know that?
No, I was a XIC reject. Like I cleared the written, and then I went for the interview, and then the lady was like, "Why don't you do something else?" I was like, "But I want to do this."
Yeah.
It's like, "Nahi, kuch aur karo." What is this logic?
Yeah. So I was also a reject at my interview.
Oh, okay.
They actually said, "No, I think you should try something else," and this and that. So I said, "Okay, theek hai." And I don't know why, but before leaving, I just said, "Yeah, maybe one day you'll see me in advertising and laugh at me and say, we rejected this guy." And I walked out. And then they called me back, and they said they were impressed by that.
Okay.
So they were all smiling and said, that shows you have something, and whatever. I was like, "Oh fuck, okay, theek hai."
And
so I was almost, I remember when they said do something, and then I was like finished. I was like, abhi mera kuch hoga nahi life mein, pata nahi kya karunga. So yeah, it's good. Reject is a good start.
Yeah. And like so since we are talking about comedy, and I feel like I was watching a lot of your ads also. I feel like humor since that time. Do you see in advertising there has been any movement in terms of where humor is going? Like, has there been any kind of change or evolution?
Yeah, it's been great. I mean, especially advertising.
Our humor, because it comes in small packets in advertising, like you actually get to see some kind of movement. Like if you look at like the director's deal, at least, not what you see in television, of course.
Yeah. No, I'll tell you something funny. I mean, the first time I was a junior and I wrote an ad which my boss liked. It was a very funny ad. And we presented to the client, and the client loved it, and everybody said, "Wow, this is really funny." And this was the early days. So what happened was that when we went to make the film, the client insisted, no, we want good looking guys, we want models, it has to look nice. And I couldn't get that because it was something funny. You should put funny people in that, right?
Right.
And so, I mean, we made the film, and obviously it wasn't as funny as it was supposed to be, because you just had these pretty looking guys and girls, and kind of everything was so hygienic that that humor was lost. And the client then said it wasn't as funny as you narrated it. And I said, yeah, well, so I think 1 or 2 years later, I think Piyush is the one man I can say with a guarantee is the guy who really changed and helped all of us a lot, because Piyush ka, I think Chal Mili Luna came, and then, you know, they did Piyush and Prasun also, I think, to that extent, you know, they made these really funny commercials which worked. And after that, client actually started telling us, no, put a funny looking guy, and that helped all of us. You know, so that was one of the greatest things. I think that's the best gift Piyush Pandey singularly did for advertising. Was I think he helped us, all of us, cast real people. You know, and otherwise till before that it was a model. I remember once I'd written a film, because I came from a middle class background. I used to see these houses in advertising. I was keeping my boss, but he middle class ka lag raha hai. Then he told me about aspiration and all that. I said, but really, you know. And so I used to try and use my influences. And once I'd written a script on kabaddi, and there was this client who was pissed off at me. And she said, what, kabaddi? Why kabaddi? Why not basketball? And I was like, who the fuck plays basketball here? So, but that changed, and that scape changed a lot. I mean, for me, I think since then it has been pretty phenomenal. And there have been a lot of amazing directors, you know, who brought in that their own brand of humor. I mean, Rajesh Krishnan has done a brilliant job with it. You know, Abhinav Pratiman, even so humor has gone a long way, I think. And today people use, a lot of you know, like Thai advertising, and a lot of those influences come, people Japanese advertising in the humor. And so I think that's a great thing. And plus we ourselves as Indians have a very nice rich history of humor. For me, a lot of it came from theater, and you know, so it was very easy kind of we used to do a lot of these in college. We had like a bipolar thing of doing plays. That is, when we did plays for competitions, we used to do this very serious, deep meaning, intelligent, you know, soulful kind of plays. But when we did plays for college, we used to do this bizarre slapstick funny shit, because, you know, everybody had to enjoy it. So there was a very good balance of both. You know, you had like you read amazing playwrights on one hand, and, you know, did their work. And then when it came to doing stuff for college, we used to just enjoy ourselves and do just ballistic bullshit, and people freaked out, and that was great. You know, so those influences really helped you later, you know, when kind of but humor has come a great way in advertising. It's become a very powerful tool, I think, now.
Also, the movement to Hindi has happened in the last few years. Like,
Hindi ho gaya tha. I mean, that's what I'm saying. I think after Piyush and all, 97 onwards only, that whole thing of looking at India proudly happened. Till before that, everything was, you know, about projecting something which was not very accurate, or whatever it is. You know, I don't know what the word is, but I remember it's only around after 97, 98, when, you know, that whole thing became fun and acceptable, and that was great, you know, in the sense that I remember there's one commercial I was doing much later for Tata Tea, and it was about a small middle class house, and I was scared that I wanted to make it very authentic and very real and that kind of thing. And so when I was telling the client that, you know, so she comes with a cup of tea, and he said, "Nahi, cup of tea, glass dikhao, glass." I was like taken aback. I said, "Itna realistic karna hai?" He said, "Ha." And then they told us that, you know, we had done one aspirational ad before that, and it bombed. So now we want to be as real as we can, and so it has had a payoff as well, you know. And clients have seen that, and one good thing about advertising is you truly understand that. I mean, we have so many languages to deal with and so many different cultures, but yet we always find a common language in that. That always tells you that there are definitely common platforms which human beings kind of connect with. And humor was looked down upon. There was a time when you did a funny ad with all balls, you know. I mean, you could never present a funny ad for anything. The category is unheard of. Have done funny stuff now. Right. Electronics, but otherwise, mostly barring candies at the most, sometimes nobody ever wants to look at humor. Humor look like one, you know, Ogilvy said, right? You won't buy anything from a clown. So but it's come a long way now.
So we talk about the film, yeah, and I think like what stands out in the film for us is the visual jokes, right?
You're right.
Because normally in Bollywood, what you get to see is written jokes, like as in it's a premise punchline kind of a thing that's happening.
Yeah.
But in You Are My Sunday, there are a lot of visual jokes. So like even things like there's that scene where he goes to spit on his boss, right? And that itself is just such a bizarre thing. And then there's one chota sa joke in the middle where this one guy pulls out a phone to record it.
You're right.
And like like it's funny, and at the same time it's also like this was not happening at that time as much. Like today it's a very
Right.
common thing, but we thought
Right.
of it then, right? Like also like the way you introduced the characters, like I love that walk, the whole Bawa, like the way he comes into the house, the fight is happening, is like I love that character, by the way. Like I don't think Parsis have been seen that way, like in Bollywood. Like it's always that oh ha ha ha
Cliched.
ha thing going on, yeah. But like you,
Chalni, yeah.
yeah, and like the whole making of Maggie, then sitting there and just writing those letters, and like I was like, this guy I'm relating to so hard right now, like. And the third thing which really stood out for me is the conversations, right? Like it is not like the reverse shot thing where I'm saying something and then I cut to your reaction. You didn't do that. Like you put the camera in the middle and then you looked. So it was almost like I was inside, like I was a part of the group. So but I basically want to know, like the whole point of telling you about your own story is to understand what goes into creating these things, like the fact that all of the characters have gone inside their homes. Like the Catholic home is the most genuine Catholic home I've ever seen, and at that point, like in those years, like we were not seeing such genuine homes like in Bollywood. Like they were still doing those fancy sets jahan pe silk ke parde or chiffon ki sariya ghum rahi thi. And like what went into, like what is the whole creative process that you put into making these little details?
See, I don't think I'm the only one doing it, in the sense that I think many people have done that kind of stuff. See, I'll tell you what happened was, if anyone is writing a script and wherever the script is pitched, I think if you do it with complete honesty, then anybody can come to arrive at this kind of a space. But I'll tell you one of the things when I wrote Sunday, and whenever I write any script, I have a one-word brief. So the plot doesn't matter to me so much as much as what is the one word that which is a transcending word throughout the entire story, which every character, everything, every scene is going to reflect. Right. And it helps me immensely. And every time I sit with writers, even if it's a series or even if it's a film, we start with what's the one word? What's the one word? Is it insecurity? Right. Is it this? Is it pretension? Is it whatever? And then we kind of say how will this reflect? Even if the audience doesn't get it, so it doesn't matter whether the audience gets that one word, because that's not really critical. But it helps you bind the ideas together, because then you know very clearly what am I doing here? Where is that one word reflecting? Right. And though I had the plot for Sunday, I much earlier. Like a bunch of guys can't play football. What will they do in Bombay? But I was struggling with where is the story going to go? Am I going to show Sunday after Sunday what escapades they have? Is it going to be like the end of it? They find the place when they come. But that was not honest, and so I couldn't find that right word. And for me, when I thought of, now it sounds very simple, but when I thought of the word space, right, it all fit in for me. But then I realized it's not just about football actually, because I wanted to find a more universal platform for it, like something even women can relate to, people who don't play football, anybody who's living in any urban environment can understand, even if it's like out of Bombay, many places have space,
like
you can
Parasite, for example, has the same problem. Like Parasite was also about like the whole space problem, right? Like on the one side you see the affluent, like they have so much, and then you see these people, it opens with the fumigation scene. So space is I understand what you're saying. It's become,
but Parasite was, I think, more about class divide. And for me it was just purely space, and I wanted to and so that's how the whole thing started. So if you see now if you look at everything, you see it's so A for Apple. So you first open in the space where the characters meet always. Then you see each character space and what they are. And there was the emotional aspect of the space and the physical aspect of the space. So someone like Mehnosh, for example, lived alone in a massive house, but yet he felt
Claustrophobic.
claustrophobic in his own environment. And so he was going, and there's Domi and his space with his mother, and where he feels, and then his brother comes in the picture, and how he feels that he never gets space in his, just to do whatever he wants to do. There's Arjun, who was obviously the epitome of a person who has, the greatest space in his mind. He has kind of given up everything, materialism and everything, and just following things happily. But yet, there's some kind of an escapism inside it, And then you have someone like Rashid, who kind of lives alone and is a free man, but yet in his own space, he feels that
the hoarding, for example.
Yeah, and the rat kind of was a very big this thing in it. So the rat thing was something that happened in my life. Now, most of these things I put from my life.
Right.
These are really people I know, and there are bits and pieces of them I have churrowed and have put in this. So as far as conversations go, writing goes, I think, that's the kind of writing I like.
Right.
I don't like plot-based conversation. So 90% of time, why popular entertainment kind of is not, we're not enjoying Bollywood as we enjoying it enough, or you see this in many series. And I think it's a little bit of a problem of Indian writing, is that 90% of the time dialogues are used to move the plot.
Right.
And that's a classic sitcom kind of a situation also, where you set up a joke, and then your 5 lines to the joke. And for me, dialogues and everything, screenplay is about characters. It's always about characters, and it's about what we say, and what does that reveal about the person at the back, because people do not really ever speak their minds. People project, and so it's so for me that kind of realism is a little important, and making it interesting, I think it's very basic good writing. It's not like something I've invented, but so for me that was very important. And all these conversations are kind of conversations I've had with friends, especially that bar scene, and these are things I've been through with my buddies. And so I just wanted to make sure that to that extent I'll this thing. But also, one thing I wanted to do is I did not want to make a heavy film. I come from a very tough background, and I've reached somewhere, and I wanted to kind of bring in a certain positivity, and kind of maybe it's a film aimed at men, to tell them, and especially Indian men, I feel, go through incredible amount of angst. And there's that whole inner Raisa, my karta tha, lekin meri maa. So there's always this, and which you see, it comes in right-wingism, it comes out in many ways, and that's why the women were very important in the film. And if you see the characters of all the women, it was very critical that I show these women who are actually going probably 10 times worse than what these men are going, but the attitude is incredibly positive. And here these guys are all always fuming in their own stew, and kind of stewing in their own inner feelings. And for me, humor is important. I think it comes naturally to me. Even if I go to write something funny, my 5th line will say something funny. Right. And so I wanted to make sure that inherent bit of and it's kind of observational humor. It's like kind of stuff we sit and you watch something funny happening, and nothing absolutely funny is happening in terms of the action, but you can see that there is behind it. It's a pretty funny scene when you look at it from a distance. And so that I think I've reflected everywhere. I've not taken myself very seriously, and I think I've made sure that the film does not take itself too seriously, and understand that life is okay. It's about these ups and downs. And
right. So a very basic, actually almost tactical question this is, but like so when we write stand up, we are supposed to, I mean, not everybody does this, I guess, but
no, that's healthy though. You should. I mean, everybody should write.
So when we do stand up, what we do is like normally we do open mics, right? And we try and do like the same joke like at least 20 times, and then and through that we keep fine tuning it. So by the time like we put it out into the world, we already know that like this works. But
Right.
I find this very curious about films that like there is no way that you put in all this money and you put in all this efforts like and like some of these great jokes are great, but it's also a risk, right? Because is there any way that you can ensure that oh this is going to hit or people are going to get it or like it's like people are going to get the humor? Like does it bother you? Like is there anything you do to like
No, see, there are two things. Number one is there's obviously an inherent sense of you're doing stand up, right? And you know, why do you know what is a joke? Why do you know something's a punchline? You know it inherently. You know that okay,
yeah,
this is funny. Now there's an issue of what do I need to tweak in it to make it come out, or okay, this doesn't work.
right,
When
right,
does that happen? It happens after you speak again and again and again. But largely, you have a sense of what's funny.
right,
You can't write something and then put it out there and say, oh, now I'll know, oh, now I got the joke. Acha, I have to. That doesn't happen. So I think one part of humor is inherently in you. What you think is funny and what you think is. The other part is how do you deliver that? And that comes from practice, craft, or whatever. See, when we do theater, when everybody does theater, and you'll ask any actor, director, whatever in theater, whenever you are rehearsing, there are moments, even a director will tell, yahan pe hold hai na, because probably you'll get a lot of laughs.
okay.
And that's inherently
Instinctive,
something
sort of.
It's instinctive. You kind of feel it should happen. And
Right.
yet sometimes you do get surprised because many times what you thought was funny, you don't get that many laughs. And many times what you, when you didn't expect it, people really suddenly clap or something like that. And so, yes, but that happens over time. Even for my writing, I think one of the most important things for me, actually it works for me, is I do a lot of narrations. So even Sunday, for example, must have at least 150 narrations with my friends, with people, meeting producers every year. So I'm never shy away from narration because every time I read something aloud, I come to know it's working or not.
Right, right.
So for me, narrations help a lot. And many times it's as simple as saying, if you have a bizarre thought in your head, you speak it aloud and suddenly you feel, oh, fuck, I shouldn't have said that. It's
Yeah.
one of those things,
Like
that
my
when you
whole
say
life.
things aloud, you really understand, acha, ye, main samajh gaya. And so narrations are very important. And even if you are very good at the craft, get in, and if you are bad at narrations or you don't like doing narrations, get some actors and have the script read aloud.
Right.
And that will instantly make you understand, no, one sec, this is not working, this is sounding very forced, this is very deliberate. And then comes the third part of it is setting up the humor in terms of its how do you film it? So what do you and for that, I think the biggest important thing I think is editing. You have to understand the power of editing. It's the most important craft. I think after the screenplay, after writing a script, editing is the second most important thing. I think in between directions of theek hai, but really editing is where again the film is made all over again. And so these timing, punchline, these things you get only once you keep doing it. You understand that this is how it should be timed. This is exactly where it should come. This is exactly how much of music am I going to use in this? Do I need so much music to just make it? I mean, one of the worst things I feel in a lot of Indian films and Indian content is music background score is used very badly.
Yeah.
And especially when it comes to humor, I mean, I think many times if I could just redo a background score of something, I feel it would be 10 times better. Because there's this overproducing of music and going pa pa tu tu ti ti ta ta, and you don't need that. If you're funny, you're funny. You don't need that much underlining of it. You don't need to put musical laugh lines, I call them.
It's almost like the laughter track that
it's just a musical version of a laughter track. So that's okay. But I think large part is, I mean, for me, the more you read it out aloud, like you said, in stand-up, you do it 8-10 times. You actually develop that thing very well.
Yeah.
So the same thing that you read aloud your script, call a friend, read it to them, and the more you read aloud in your head, you instantly understand what's working, what's not working.
And
for me, that's important.
For me, like this is more like I was very curious. I mean, I actually didn't probably understand, or maybe I'm just trying to decode the metaphor. But the kick that you have given, like at the beginning, and then again in that scene at the end where they are having this whole fight, and then वापस वो सर पे kick मारता है, and it's a very short story style.
Right.
like O Henry style, जहाँ पे एक
Yeah.
beginning में कुछ होता है और फिर उसको वापस उस full circle आके end में होता है. So what
Right.
is the kick? Like, can you explain? Like, just help me decode that,
No,
because like for me it was
no, there's
very
no,
serious.
I don't think it's very esoteric or anything. I mean, for me, I just think Appa is a very important character for me. And
Right.
so I was very worried. As a little history, my mother suffers from schizophrenia from when I was a child.
Right.
So it's something I've seen very closely, and
Right.
she lives with me even now. And but so for me, the character of Appa is very important, and it's very difficult to find. I mean, how do I explain to the actor what it is? Because I did not see one thing about one thing I hate is using cinema as a reference to make cinema. So even
Right.
when I'm doing characters, I'm doing anything, I want to find something from my life and not from movies. Even if I love great films and I love this thing, and you have to avoid being derivative about certain things. And there are many things which people take for very cinematic. There's a cinematic grantedness we take in things, courtroom dramas, hospitals, stuff like that. We don't really research. We don't really take a lot of efforts to understand that, and we kind of, it's very easy. Then we say, okay, he's a doctor, he's going to walk in. But this is not how really Indian doctors and what happens to doctors really is this. And so for Appa's character for me he was the catalyst in the whole story, right? And ironically, he's the person who does not live in the real world. He's living in his own head. He's living in his own this thing. And so symbolically, maybe for me, Appa was the guy who, amongst all these people, was the only one who had an audience seat. He was the one who actually was the observer to all these people doing all the dumb things. And so every time, I think Appa's character symbolizes what symbolizes a kick of life, when life gives you a kick in the butt. And I think that for me, that was as simplest way I can put that. Appa was always a catalyst. He's always the man who created the change in the story. He always brought in that entire shift. He's the first person who brings the shift into the character. He changes everybody's life because that one kick, that one kick changes everyone's life track and brings everyone to some new point. And in the end, again, when people are taking themselves seriously, Appa gives a kick in their butt and says, okay, come on. And then they obviously get back to life. So it was pretty simple in that sense. It was just symbolic of, and the cat was very important. And I luckily found Shiv Subramaniam, who's the most brilliant writer himself and a great actor. And Shiv's decoding was brilliant. And I never had to give him any instructions when we were shooting. So that was also great. I mean, I was very lucky with my actors. The
casting of the film is just perfect. Like, I don't think, is it luck or like were these the actors, like was everybody your first choice?
It is partial luck. I mean, it's luck. So I had a casting director. I had Casting Bay do the casting for me, and Anmol and Sheikh were they had just started out that time. So it was great fun because they also took it as a challenge, and we really brought in a lot of.
We get to see so little of Shahana, like, and I love the relation. Like, it's so practical and मतलब ऐसा ही है, मतलब हम लोग भी ऐसे ही treat करते हैं.
Shahana was a surprise because till the Rock On, पहले Rock On हुआ था उसका, and she had done all these hardcore independent films, those whole art cinema and all that. So my impression था Shahana का must be ऐसा very serious kind of a person who's like ऐसा. So and I wanted a dusky to cast a dusky girl for her role, and and so we were looking, and so she was in Paris, and I think first Zoom call we did, it was phenomenal, and I realized that, oh my God, she's so different from whatever the serious role she portrays.
Right.
And I think she was fed up by then of all these idiotic. I mean, she kept getting those Rock On type roles, angry girl, angry woman, angry sister, angry angsty. So she was looking to do something different. For her, the script was just the right thing. So I married. Everything was partly accident, largely accident, but partly, of course, we went through a lot of process. We saw a lot of actors, and it wasn't our bit. So it was everyone was chosen really with a lot of care. The surprise for me was choosing Nakul Bhalla to play Behnosh's character.
Right.
Because I always thought I'm going to cast like a real Parsi actor for this, and somehow we just found it difficult to get the Like a lot of the guys who are doing Parsi theater would do auditions and then would not. If you ask them, we are shooting this time to this time, say I can't tell you, I can't say anything. So it was like getting really weird. And I said, no, we'll find somebody. And then that's when Anmol recommended this guy. He said he's in Bangalore. I said, Bangalore, and he's a Punjabi. I said, pagal hai kya? He said, sir, aap ek baar dekh lo usko. And
I'm finding this so surprising that he's not Parsi.
He's not Parsi at all. Yeah.
Hey,
And so, when I saw his test, I said, okay, this guy is fantastic. Because for me that, so I have very close, one of the things I wanted to avoid was the cliched Bollywood Parsi, which is bullshit. And I have very close Parsi friends. I've seen Parsi culture up close. And so I did not want to do any of that rubbish, that kind of shit. And a lot of my Parsi friends speak Hindi very well. None of them have that. So, I was pretty clear about that. And so when we saw Mehnosh, it was fantastic. And then we had Meher, who was playing Arjun's sister. She is Bhavi. So, we kind of did a basic coaching for him because, again, I didn't want him to get into that thing. I didn't want him to do some fake accents and stuff like that, and Mehnosh picked it up very well. Brilliant. And you would not know he's not a Parsi, So
yeah.
That was a great. That was a great
bit of betrayal. I'm like, what is this? Why are you telling me? I don't want to know that he's Punjabi. I don't want.
लिखा है उधर casting credit में है.
Obviously, I am not well researched. Also, I saw the trailer for Ye Prajakta.
Prakata Hettiad.
I'm sorry. I'm very I'm not good with that. I'm not good with the language. But is the movie out? Because I tried looking for it.
No, it's not a movie. It's a short film. Prakata Hettiad is actually gibberish. So even if you don't get it, that's great. Because the entire film, it was something when we started our own production house, and I was really dying to do something out of besides advertising.
Yeah.
And there was a project which came to a friend of mine, Karthik Vijay, is a DOP.
Right.
And he got a project from Fuji to do so of course now film is dead, but earlier days Fuji Kodak used to come with film stock.
Right.
They made demo films for DOPs, okay, this kind of latitude our films have, and they would get a DOP to shoot it, but Karthik wanted to do a story. He said, I just don't want to do one basic cinematography this thing. So he said, will you write something for me? I said, okay, I gave him an idea. Then he said, tu likhna. I wrote it. And I think somebody else was, then finally he called me and said, can you make it? I said, fuck, I'll make it. For me, it's great. And I was going to get free stock from Fuji, unlimited stock, nothing like that. So we made that film. And
where can we watch it? Is available on YouTube?
It might be coming out in some time. Because somebody's interested in kind of putting it up. Actually,
it's because the trailer is amazing.
It's a very funny film. And so when we wrote it, it was because I didn't want to put dialogues in it. So it was just it's a funny film, and it's about vagabonds. But even if they live like vagabonds, they have the middle class trappings in them. So it became very funny when you see people who are living away from society rules, but yet having social structures in their living, and the idea being that we can't get away from a middle class inside. A structural this thing is very difficult to get out of. And it was funny, and then I didn't want to write dialogues, and then we said, okay, let's make it gibberish. So nobody's really, so in that whole film, nobody's really saying any line, and you can get everything.
Right.
Talking like so everyone's talking like that. And so even the titles, and I said, make it gibberish. So the original title was A Day in the Park, which I jumbled up and made it Prakata Hettiad. So that's about it. And so it's going to come. I think somebody's interested in kind of showcasing it or something like that.
I hope, then we can just put the link.
That's funny.
We can put the link of the trailer, obviously.
Yeah.
So, even in that, I thought the framing is very, the saturation of the frame and all.
Yeah.
It's very Coen brothers, right?
I don't know. Okay, see, though I admire many filmmakers, I try not to do.
Yeah, no, it's not pronounced in that sense, but
yeah, maybe it is. Maybe
I'm expecting visual jokes even in this.
Yeah, it's very funny. Everything is a joke. It's well framed. It's actually the entire look and of the film comes from the stock. So one of the briefs we had got was that we have to show that the stock can take a lot of color. It
Right.
can handle outdoors. It was especially an outdoor stock.
Right.
It can take a lot of color. It has a lot of latitude. Even if it's open skies, it can kind of. And so, I mean, a lot of it is shot with that. So with that brief in mind, we wanted to make it colorful, weird, bright, and it was a little weird, the whole thing. So obviously, the framing, everything is kind of pushing to that. That you'll see when you see the film. I mean, you'll understand.
Yeah. Even again, great cast. Must congratulate.
Great casting. Superb casting. I mean, Shiva Chadda is the most brilliant actor. I
Just
think.
try I was like, okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I'm glad that I didn't this is not my research. But like the scene, the meltdown scene in the airport.
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, I generally felt like that was one of the most brilliant. And I'm not saying this because you're in front of me or whatever, but कितना मतलब वो अजीब भी था पर वो funny भी था और ऐसा हमने देखा मतलब I have never seen something like that in Bollywood.
Yeah.
And the film is not artsy. That's what I like it so much. What were you thinking? From where does that come?
No, it comes from it comes from angst only and space only. Na? See, right. The film is not artsy. I agree with the sense that we got surprised when festivals wanted to show our film.
Right.
I was really shocked because I said, "Ye to art film hai nahi, apna to it's a funny film." And
I meant it as a compliment. I hope.
No, that's okay. Even we kind of. I was surprised and I was happy, of course, that we struggled for 2 years, 3 years to get the film out. So in between that, the festivals really kept our spirits up, and it felt good about it.
Right.
And every city it showed, everybody resonated, which I loved. I loved the fact that whether it was London or whether it was somewhere in America and anywhere else, people used to say that we resonate with this, and I like that. I mean, that was great that you're not just made a specific Bombay. Though it was a Mumbai story. It actually seems to have a
universal.
Yeah, kind of. So I generally, my thing is, I take everything from my life, and if I'm working on any subject, I take a lot of time working on it. So I have constant these notes in my phone, so I think of something, I say, maybe I'll keep this, and so that's what I think all writers do actually. I think we are kind of thieves, we kind of take something and we put it there, and then we say, okay, theek hai. Like Mehnosh's bit came from somebody who was telling me that, I have a neighbor, he does nothing, and he tells me only thing he does is he sends hate mails to his boss. And I said, I kept that. When I heard that, I wrote it down. Yeah. Because I thought that's very interesting if somebody is just writing anonymous hate mails to his boss. I thought that's pretty strange.
Right.
And I wrote it down. And so later down the line, I was looking at these notes. I said, this is interesting for Mehnosh, and maybe I can use that.
Right.
I have seen a lot of airport meltdowns.
Really?
So because I've been traveling a lot. Yeah. When you're doing Delhi, Bombay, Bangalore, you're shooting ads and you're kind of moving a lot. You're doing PPM, meeting clients. And I always find airport stations always fantastic. It's like absolute fodder, And I have seen amazing amount of people screaming on the phones. People getting angsty about, there was this, so this thing came, I'll tell you where it, so I heard one man, twice or 3 times I've heard men screaming at somebody on the phone.
Right.
And for like 10, 20 minutes, that kind of thing. And like this man has forgotten where he was. Everyone's looking at him and he's screaming away. And I remember this one instance when, which I used. I mean, so I don't know what egos and clashes people get, because I think there's a casteism. There's a different kind of urban casteism there. I'm business class. I'm here. I was here before you. Tu line mein khada rahe. It's a very strange kind of a thing.
Right.
Like people are not even ready to help each other. And if somebody, everyone's trying to move up ahead, and then somebody gets very angry. And I remember this, we were waiting the queue to put our luggage on that bloody carousel, right? Uh-huh. And so we come there, and so there's a guy ahead of me. He kept his bag, and that time only this one man comes. I think he forgot to put his mobile. So he comes there to just keep his mobile in, and this man shouts at him, "Hey, line me." So this guy, you could see his persona. Obviously, he was somebody who nobody ever must have said anything like that to him, right? So he, you know what he did for fucking 3 minutes? This man just was glaring like that at this guy, you know.
Yeah.
And then this guy kept looking, "Kya dikhta hai? Kya dikhta hai?" And this guy is glaring, as if in his head I could read, "Tu sale mere gaon mein hota ya mere shehar mein hota, teri laga deta." I don't know what it was. It was like this man was, and I said, "Wow, so much angst, so much urban angst we have about things." And so I think I just took it one notch further, because every time you stand for security check and they're checking you and checking and feeling you up, sometimes you feel, "Ye le sala kapda nikal ke bhenchod ka bhi kar." You know, so I thought maybe that's, you know, what if somebody really does that? Somebody really just starts stripping and saying, "Okay, fuck us," you know, and which has happened in US. There are stories when this whole, you know, a lot of women and a lot of people had under protest had gone naked at the airport and all that, when the TSA thing had happened and all that.
Yeah.
So it's not far from reality.
Right.
It's just, I think, few bits connected together. And so I just connect, I just think my specialty, I can connect bits and find a story in them.
Right.
You know, some people are great at fiction. For me, I think unless I can't find something from my life to connect, I can't write. You know, so even if it's a science fiction thing, I'll have to find, or fantasy, I'll have to find something from my life to connect to it. And that I find easy then.
This is not really a question. It's more like an observation. But like, you know, like when I saw like the story, and like when Varun Sopti is observing this guy who has the meltdown, and then he decides not to go ahead and do like a corporate job and head startups instead, or do that kind of a thing. So like what, and then finally at the end when you know, they have the big fight. So what I basically understand is this guy is scared, right? Varun Sopti is scared, like he doesn't want to make a big mistake. So
Right.
in that whole thing, he doesn't want to take any chances only.
Right.
And that is the flaw in his character. That is why
Exactly.
he's not able to go ahead with like
Exactly.
the love of his life also.
Even the love of his life. Correct.
Right. Right.
Correct.
Because
So
for everybody else, I thought the flaw was very pronounced, right? Like
Right.
for the Gujarati guy, I understood that, oh, he's trying to escape his family. For the
Correct.
like the hoarder, I could understand that he's just, you know, keeping too much baggage. For the Bawa, like it was.
Yeah.
But for Varun, it was more subtle because he was always good on the surface.
Exactly.
Matlab he's the typical hero.
Exactly.
You could say.
Yeah, he was the typical nice guy till you suddenly realize that little later you realize that he might be a nice guy, but maybe he's also someone who, when he finds a wall, turns away. So is that good or bad? I don't know. So for example, you can say, I don't like materialism, so I'm not chasing it. But versus you find it too hard to get into that, so you say, I'm not chasing it. So that's why you see Shahana's character was developed like that, because if Barun was a guy who loved all the good things in life, football, and felt the corporate thing is too much for me, and he stepped out, right? And Shahana is somebody who actually has a father who is a massive problem for her, but yet she follows a job also with that much without any guilt, without any and so you see the dichotomy of the characters. If you see it subtly, it's pretty amazing, and that's the reason why probably he admires her.
Right.
Her strength, you know, kind of she seems to be doing all the things he thought he couldn't do, and actually she's taking care of her father. She's very fastidious about that, and yet she's serious about her work also, you know. And that's why in the end, and so even when the moment of time where he might want to tell a woman that he likes her, when she says, you know, I also want good things in life, this, that, he suddenly feels, you know, and that's why that end scene was made that way, you know, that when she only proposes and says, "Chalna yaar, kya itna kya seriously?" And when he says, "What if I can't get you good things?" She says, "Yeah, fuck off. That's not a job. That's my, I'll get what I want from it." Right. And so it was very clear cut. It was kind of deliberate in that sense that.
So like in comedy, we use this thing, we say misleading. मतलब जानबूझ के एक direction में ले जाना और फिर दूसरी तरफ से punchline करना. So you did this, right, with this character. Like you throughout you made us follow him, and we are thinking, oh, ये तो बंदा कितना sorted है, बाकी
सही है, correct.
नहीं है.
Correct.
And then, so you knew that was coming.
Yeah. That was pretty.
Right.
I mean, as I developed the character, I knew that, you know, I had to get him to some point where, but I was very sure about this. I mean, from the very beginning, that's what
I feel so smart right now because I decoded. Thank you.
I'm glad. I mean, that's great.